Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Sagittarius for June 2018. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog, and if you would love to study astrology, either for your own self-development or to do it professionally, then definitely check out my Astrology Apprenticeship program that will be enrolling starting June 1st. So what's going on this month? We've got a wonderful month full of Gemini energy that flows really well with Sag energy, air that fuels your fire. We have an increase in restlessness because of that energy in Gemini, which Sagittarius do not need to have any extra restlessness. You might find every year around this time that you get really motivated to go. A lot of Sagittarius wind up traveling at this time, and it's not just because of school being out if you're a parent or if you're in school. It's because when the planets get into Gemini, you get all whacked out and you have to do something. You get very restless. So you might see that. We'll talk about more of that travel energy in the second part of this video, which talks about the general transits, but I just wanted to mention that that's going to be breathing, fanning the flames of your sagginess at this time. So I'm calling the theme of this month coupling up, and that is due to the partial solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Cancer that's occurring in early July. This month, for this video, I'm going to focus on the placement of this solar eclipse. We are in eclipse season. Eclipse season is a time when radical and sudden trajectory changes, dramatic accomplishments or endings, bright new beginnings and possibilities open up. The eclipse cycles that we're moving through over the course of a couple of years have these times when major manifestations are more likely, and that is at these eclipse times. So we've got 3 eclipses over, well, I would say the summer, but I know I have watchers down under, so it would be your winter. And I'm going to break them down into these 3 months. Okay, so this report for June, I'm going to focus on the July 12th partial solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Cancer, and where Sagittarius might see that manifest in your chart. In July, my July report, I'm going to focus on the July 27th total lunar eclipse at 4, almost 5 degrees of Aquarius. And then in August, I'm going to focus on the partial solar eclipse at 18 degrees of Leo. Okay, so in general, this eclipse cycle, the Aquarius and the Leo eclipses are going to be in great angles for Sagittarius. The Cancer one is in more of a challenging angle, but that doesn't mean it has to bring challenges. It just might take a little bit more working through than some of the other energies. So in general, solar eclipses tend to bring in new things, and lunar eclipses tend to end things or bring things to completion or fruition. But in astrology and in life, there's really hard to make a black and white anything. Everything is more in a gray area. And so even though this solar eclipse is going to bring in new possibilities, it's also going to end the other things that when you activate the new potential, that something ends. So that's what's starting this energy this month, are these endings. But the theme I'm calling couple up because most Saggies are going to experience this solar eclipse in the 8th house. And the 8th house has to do with forming powerful relationships or relationships you're already in that involve resources. Okay, so the rest of the Saggies who don't experience this in the 8th house, you'll experience this in the 7th house. You late degree placements, so like the later part of the sign, the last 10 days for the birthdays, or the last like 20 to 29 degrees-ish, you might feel this in your 7th house. But energetically, it's still the energy of coupling up because the 7th and 8th houses are both couple houses. They're both partnership houses. And that's not just romantic, although it is romantic too. Your spouse, your boss, even though bosses are like in the 10th house, if you are working in partnership with a person carefully, like a boss, like a business partner, like a neighbor, your close relationships, or even you loan money to someone in that relationship you have with them, or you borrowed money from someone in that relationship you have with them, family money, inheritances, sweepstakes, lotto, winnings, All of these things are supercharged at this time, as are esoteric studies and psychology. Astrology is included in that. Numerology, parapsychology, all of those things, these deeper esoteric studies that are lesser seen, things having to do with crypto, money, cryptocurrency, and stocks, and these vague financial things that it's hard to put in anywhere in a solid understanding. All those things are in this 8th house. So there's this energy of you independent Saggies merging with people. New opportunities to do that. But since Mars is going retrograde June 26th through August 26th, and we started that shadow period May 11th, so we're at this point in June, we're several weeks into that shadow period. So even though there's new energy coming in, it has an eye to the past. Okay, so someone from your past offering something. Somebody that you knew in the past coming into a different context in your life. Things like that. And just busy things or opportunities with your partner, spouse, somebody that you're in close relationship with. Sagittarius energy, just pure Sag energy. Of course, no one is ever just the energy of one sign. That's part of what makes me uncomfortable, has always made me uncomfortable about astrology and general readings, is that yes, people identify with their sun sign because there are manifestations that are very prominent and notable. But we are more than just our sun sign. So even though what I'm about to describe may not be the totality of who you are or who I am, I'm a Sag also. I have lots of placements in Sag. But there are certain traits that Sagittarius have. And one of the traits that Sagittarius have is that it's hard for them to commit to things. Okay, and that can manifest in different ways. Sometimes that is in relationships, sometimes that is with things that they commit to for their creative projects. Sometimes it's even just as simple as making a plan with a Sagittarius. I know myself, the friends that I get along best with are the ones who are more free-flowing with their planning process, right? Because it's very hard to pin me down to schedules and times and things like that, right? Because that's how energy moves through us. But this period of time is offering these opportunities to work with others, you know, and in some ways I think the Saggies are very friendly. We can get along with people. But if someone interferes with our flow, we get pretty ornery. You know, I get pretty ornery. If something is hindering my personal flow, I don't like it. And so that can cause some limits to intimacy occasionally or often, because it's hard to make your personal flow match with someone else's personal flow, okay? But this solar eclipse is bringing in this opportunity to couple up with people in ways that will be synergistic. So better than each of your individual resources alone. Okay, so we want you to be open to this. Now, as I'm saying this, yes, it's true that you want to connect with people, but we still want to try to keep those arrangements flexible. And because the rest of the wall of retrogrades that we have until December of this year is going to change a lot of things. So if something comes in and it's like, here, this is, you want to do this, then you might say, yes, I want to do this. Well, a month in, you might not want to do it anymore, or the nature of it changed and now it needs a new arrangement. Okay, so it's fine to say yes to things, and it's good to say yes to things, especially involving coupling up. At the same time, try to keep the commitments light and the flexibility as open as possible. If you have to make a legal commitment, like, or if you have to sign a contract or do something official with someone, those days, the first couple of days, June 1st through 3rd or so, are really wonderful for this. We're still a few weeks out from the official Mars retrograde, and there are some nice aspects with Venus at that time. But just kind of navigate your way through intuitively, you know. Things that come in at this point might change very much, but that doesn't mean you can't take advantage of them. It just means you have to work into what you're agreeing to, the fact that it's probably going to change, okay? So look for opportunities to create win-win situations, to heal relationships, to work synergistically with people, to help someone else, or to be helped with someone else, by somebody else. Someone else might do you a huge favor at this time. People might loan you money. People might invest in your ideas or your, vision. And you might do the same for other people. There's this energy of a resource bringing to, just coming together, basically. So look out for those possibilities for you early, middle, and late placements. So these are the things that are most on my mind for Sag. Now I want to talk about this Mars retrograde transit. I want to talk about more notable dates in the month to look out for. Dates I love, dates you have to be a little careful around. Also, we're going to talk more about the general energy and how you can best use it. So I'm going to go into all of that now. So I'm calling the theme of June 2018 for all signs, the magical act of releasing attachment, with a sub-theme or sub-themes of recreation and recreation. This abundance of air energy this month is going to bring a lot of restlessness, this need to move, variety seeking, the urge to communicate and connect will be very strong. And there will be many opportunities for this as well. So trips, travel near and far, sparkling conversations, chances to connect with people online and in person, a lot of busyness. People often notice when the sun is in Gemini and at this time of year, we've got a lot of busyness. You'll see that things are ramped up. You're here, you're there, you're moving around. There's lots of things that you're trying to pull together. And also interests and things can be coming up and could be all over the board. The urge to move and express will be increased from this energy, but for many people, the desire for movement will be towards recreation rather than productivity. And this is compliments of the impending Mars retrograde transit. We've been talking about this for a long time. I've been prepping you for this. And of course, you can look at my blog, Your Guide to Mars Retrograde, and you can look at my video on the topic. You can just put in Annie Botticelli Mars Retrograde, and you'll pull up my other resources to go deeper into this. But for the most part, for most people, ambitions start to wane. Okay, so the key theme that occurs so much in Mars retrograde is frustration. But it doesn't have to be that way. That only happens if you're trying to go at your usual pace. In that transit, that's not wanting you to do that. So if you take cues from what's happening and you stop trying to force things, like dropping your agenda, this is one of the reasons why I'm calling this the theme this month, the magical act of releasing attachment. If you drop your agendas, then you can flow more. If you give yourself permission to chill, then the odds of frustration will be much less because you're not trying to push up against this wall of energy that's pushing backwards. So there are some people, however, that have the opposite effect when Mars is in retrograde. Mars rules movement, and some people, and how you use your energy, it rules the assertiveness, that get up and go, your oomph. So if you were born with Mars retrograde in your natal chart, you might have the opposite effect when Mars goes into retrograde. You might be what some people might call lazy or laid back or not ambitious most of the time. But then something crazy happens, maybe you haven't known what it was until now, then Mars retrograde comes and you get lit up while everybody else is going the other way. So that's why I always say, above everything, you have to honor your own personal flow and your intuition when you're listening to horoscopes, because there are always caveats to the general things that we share through horoscopes. So in any case, I always like to give you the heads up, because if you notice yourself getting what you describe as lazy, and then you're trying to give yourself a hard time about it, you can make this month and this transit, which runs from the end of June to the end of August, but really it started May 11th when the shadow period started, and it goes through the beginning of October. This is a long time. So if you understand this is going on, it's more likely that you can give yourself permission to relax. And if you give yourself permission to relax, pure genius can come to you when you're in that relaxed state. The way I like to describe the magic that can happen with this energy is with a typical story. I know myself, I've heard many situations where, let's say a couple is trying to have a baby and they're having trouble getting pregnant, and there's so much stress and there's pressure and they're putting it on and they're worried, and all of this energy is going towards this certain outcome. Then when they make the decision to adopt, sometimes they get pregnant. And the doctors chalk it up as the stress was released from the venture, right? So this is the energy that I want you to remember during this time, because a massive amount of magic, a massive amount of inspiration can come from that quiet time, like the Shavasana at the end of a yoga session. That quiet little short time of integration, of rest, integrates all of the work done prior. And very often when Mars is in retrograde, work that you've done before comes to you. So this energy of being like a spider that's going to be a theme that continues for a while, where you've done work, now you're letting everything come to you, is a good one to follow. Now, if you do have some things that you have to push through, and you don't want to wait until December when we're done with Mars retrograde, then Mercury retrograde, then Venus retrograde, then there are some points here in June where you could do that. And my favorite days are right in the beginning of the month. But I'll go into more details about that. But if you do have some things that you have to push through and you feel that they're, intuitively it's time to do it, then you might be able to take advantage of that energy. Okay, so I really love this month for vacations, because this desire to rest and slack makes an increase in the possibility that you'll enjoy the vacation and you'll leave your worries and work behind. So if you are a traveler, or you're planning a trip, or you just like to read about travel stuff, you can check out my website, Astrology Kissed Travel Bliss. And I do monthly astrology travel reports so that you can understand some highlights as far as it relates to travel. And there are also fun blogs and inspiration for travel. There's a new moon on June 13th, and this is another increase in this opportunity for travel, adventures near and far, connecting with siblings, cousins, and other relatives. If you have to make a last-minute purchase of a communication device, if you know that coming soon your car or your phone or something is due to get, if you're due to get a new one, this time around, the beginning of the month or around this new moon of the 13th might be a good time to squeeze these things in, because Mars rules metal. And well, it's one of the, of course it's complicated, but things that are made of metal are under the rule of Mars. So buying machinery, utilizing machinery, and of course everything has metal in it, all of our devices. The energy is better for it when we're further away from the retrograde. So if you can help it, sometimes you might not be able to help it, in which case don't worry, just go with the flow. But if you know it's coming, you might want to take advantage of this time in the middle of the month. So increasing your recreation time is a great goal. If you're going to have any goals during this time, it would be goals to have more fun, and goals to relax, and goals to take vacations, and even goals to study, but in a laid-back, leisurely way. This is a time that can greatly favor education, but especially in flexible programs that allow you to go at your own pace, so that if you turn out to lose some ambitions, that you're not penalized. If you're interested in education that feels more like a hobby rather than a stressful obligation, then it's very well indicated during this Mars retrograde, because we could see that as part of a focus on recreation. You might notice a slowdown in work, finances, romance, etc. But like I said, there is an amazing chance for you to reap rewards from the past. So things may slow down in some senses, but things from the past could come to fruition now without you even doing anything, and it might seem quite magical. If you have to do some work-related things, it's better to focus on clients from the past, ideas from the past, things like that, if at all possible. These retrogrades tend to make things get called into question. So things that were set or intended may drastically change form during this time, or become irrelevant or uninteresting. So just notice the cycle, and just because something isn't, kind of goes away from your energy field at this time, it doesn't mean it's forever. I know I personally have Aries rising, and Mars rules Aries, so I notice that I'm very much affected by this transit. Everybody's affected by it, but people with Aries and Scorpio placements, strong Aries and Scorpio placements, and you notice it more because Mars rules Aries and co-rules Scorpio. But I've noticed that I just love this energy because it helps you to relax. And whenever this happens now, I plan my rests for this time. But if you didn't know that this were coming, you might think, wow, what is happening to me? I'm like this. So I feel like when Mars retrograde, like, wow, I'm never going to be ambitious again. That's so weird. And then as soon as Mars goes direct, I'm back to my normal ambitious self. You know, so it's just interesting to watch your own personal cycles with this. And as I mentioned before, you might have the opposite occur, and notice that too. Learning astrology and using astrology is one big experiment, you know, and the more you learn about what's going on and then you pay attention to your personal flow with that, the more you learn about the art and the science. Okay, so many people are going to be questioning many things in life, but there will be a special focus for the job, profession, life path, because of the time that Mars is going to spend getting back into Capricorn. And since it spends most of the time retrograde in Aquarius, this strong focus on reconsidering or considering for the future, defining or redefining projects or relationships involving nonprofits, humanitarian efforts, technology, and other futuristic innovations, groups, things having to do with groups and teams and friends and friendships and acquaintances, social circles, and social media are all within this Mars and Aquarius energy. You might notice a lot of push and pull between home and work, home and family, mother and father, because we have a notable amount of oppositions between the Cancer and Capricorn energy. So this can bring a lot of overstimulation between home and family and work and your place out in the world. Overstimulation doesn't necessarily mean bad or good. It's just that there are opposing forces that are both demanding equal and extra focus, which can make you feel torn between these competing interests. But we do also have some great aspects with Uranus that can bring amazing insights and breakthroughs or happy surprises. So there are many times in this month where beautiful aspects are coupled with challenging ones. So good news and challenges could present simultaneously. You might see that going on. Okay, so the energy of this Cancer eclipse, we talked about where it would hit for you personally in your chart, but the general energy that everyone has this increased chance of experiencing is having to do with housing, home, and other family opportunities will likely be a dominating theme. There's something that a dermatologist said to me recently that I always wind up applying these random things to astrology, you know. So she said that there's an increase in skin cancer risk for people who have light-colored eyes, that there's something genetic about that relationship. Okay, so that doesn't mean that all people who have light-colored eyes are going to get skin cancer, and it doesn't mean that all people who don't have light-colored eyes are not. But this increase in probability is how I always frame astrology. There's an increase in probability of the things that these transits tend to bring. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to experience these things that are common. It just means there's an increase in probability. You know, the odds are more likely, like on a day when the meteorologist says, rain is 90% today. Sometimes it doesn't rain, you know, but there's that increased chance. And that's what I want you to understand about the nature of these transits and the nature of these potentials. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of other dates to highlight this month. And if you want more details about dates and transits of note, then definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Sign up for my free email newsletter. You can also sign up at cozybysweetstarlight.com, which is where I also have written horoscopes, cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you sign up at either of those places for my free newsletter, I write a monthly write-up with more details about these general transits in a written version a month ahead than I give in the video. Okay, so it supplements what we're going to do here. If you have to do anything in June, important, money, love, you know, beauty choices, anything that you have to do, the creative projects, anything important. I love the first several days of the month. We've got beautiful Venus and Jupiter trine, and then Venus trines Neptune. So that's my favorite time of the month, besides the middle of the month, the 13th, with that new moon in Gemini. We've got a little bit of challenging energy after that, like the 5th through the 7th. Logic bumping up against intuition and some challenges there. Definitely take a moment to center yourself before walking, driving, biking, etc. And try to resist the urge to text while biking or text while walking or text while driving, because this energy increases the odds of accidents. You want to be paying attention more. There's another sweet spot here in the middle of the month where I told you the new moon on the 13th. And then there's a nice aspect between Mercury and Uranus, but at the same time, there's a challenging one with Venus and Uranus. And some other challenges there in the middle of the month. We've got another sweet spot, June 19th through the 20th, when Mercury makes a trine to Jupiter. And then we have Mars going retrograde on the 26th. When a planet goes retrograde, there's a lot of awkwardness. So just look out for awkwardness around that time. Then there's the full moon in Capricorn on June 27th, and this will bring completion, fruition, accomplishment, or drama into the realms of work, career, father figures, and your place out in the world. So those are the things that are most on my mind for this month. Definitely check out my websites, AnnieHelpsYou.com, if you're interested in learning astrology as a profession or just for your self-development. If you'd like to be a coach, I have a coach training program. I have an astrology apprenticeship program. I also have a course called Creating Successful Online Business, where I teach you how to create an online presence and funnel it into your services that will help you to live the life that you want and not be geographically bound. If you want written horoscopes that are focusing on different areas than the videos that I make, then go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you would like to get information about astrology travel reports that I write for each month, then go to astrologykissedtravelbliss.com. And definitely check out my husband's website, iamhelios.com, IAMHELIOS.com, for wonderful astrology and tarot readings. He also has some really cool free offerings on his site that bring sound vibrations that you can download that help to soften the energies of the current transits. So that's something really cool he's doing. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.